and Rivka, Kira, and Tal, and all the kids and all the family for asking me to do this. Beny has been a regular, mamish, literally regular in all my classes since day one in Toronto. And even not on Zoom, even in person. He actually didn't like the Zoom so much. Like he preferred the in-person classes. And I remember that first class that I gave was a Wednesday night class at Shiur Tefillah. And Beny came to the class. I didn't know Beny beforehand. And he came to the class. There were maybe, I don't know, handful of people in the room, in the social hall, Shiur Tefillah. Beny came in and he sat there, first row, listened to the entire class. I didn't know his name. He didn't introduce himself. After the class, I came up to him. I was like, "Hello, like, who are you?" And then he said, I'm Beny. That's who I am." And he spoke in Hebrew. And he's like, "I'm Beny." Didn't say anything about being a cantor for decades at Holy Blossom. Didn't say anything about his achievements, and that moment for me was a striking moment that I understood later on what kind of a person Beny was, and what I want to do today in today's class is I will do two things. I will do something that Beny loves and something that he actually doesn't like so much. What he loves is when I connect Torah and music, and we will do this today. What he doesn't like so much is when I talk about him, and I will also be talking about Beny today. So I hope this year will bring some nechama and nacha to the mishpacha, to everyone who knew Beny, to his colleagues, to his friends, everyone here in this Zoom who had a relationship and a connection with Beny. I hope this will bring nachas, and this year also will be dedicated to his Ilui Neshama. And if there's something we can all take from this class, I hope that I will achieve my goal today. So I will share the screen right now. Just make sure, please, you're all muted. And this session is also recorded. So if there's anyone wants to share this recording later on, I hope that Rivka will also send out the link maybe to the YouTube or wherever this will be uploaded to. So thank you very much. And let me share the screen. What I want to talk about today is what makes an ideal cantor. What makes an ideal cantor? Now, I think we all agree that Cantor Maissner was an ideal cantor. But based on Jewish sources and some Israeli music, we'll try to understand and explore the question, what makes an ideal cantor? And I want to open with a story that is brought in Masechet Ta'anit, Talmud Ta'anit, page 25b. The story goes as follows. It once happened in time of drought. The Rabbi Eliezer went down before the ark as prayer leader, as a cantor, and recited 24 blessings. Yet he was not answered. Rabbi Akiva went down after him and said, Avinu Malkeinu, our father, our king, we have no king but you. Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake have mercy upon us. And his prayer was answered and rain fell. The sages, says the story, began complaining about this. Take a look what happens here. Remarkable. Two rabbis, giant rabbis, who were also cantors at the time, also shlichei tzibur. One was Rabbi Eliezer, the other was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer stood as a cantor, as a chazan, as a shliach tzibur, and started davening, started singing 24 blessings, he said, but his prayer wasn't answered. Afterwards, Rabbi Akiva came in, took his spot, said one simple sentence, Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. We all know this prayer. We say it until this day. And for some reason, Rabbi Akiva's prayer was answered, while Rabbi Eliezer's prayer was not. And what I want to ask is the following question. Why? Why? What happened? Why was Rabbi Eliezer's prayer not answered by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, by God, while Rabbi Akiva's prayer was actually answered? And I think the answer lies within the character of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva. if we will be able to trace, we'll go on this journey, if we will be able to trace the characters and understand who they were, what characteristics did they have, what skills did they have, that will help us maybe understand what made Rabbi Akiva a more ideal cantor, a more ideal chazan, a shaliach tzibur over Rabbi Eliezer, and why Rabbi Akiva's prayer was actually answered. And I think the first thing that really, really, really describes Rabbi Akiva is his humility. And I want to talk about humility. What does it mean to be a humid chazan? Humility, what does it mean? Take a look. The Gemara in Baba Metzia, page 59b, says the following. It was taught on that day, Rabbi Eliezer, the one whose prayer was not answered, presented every possible answer in the world, but they, the other rabbis, did not accept them from him. The rabbis in the Talmud explained to us there was this incident, this argument between Rabbi Eliezer and many other rabbis. Rabbi Eliezer came into the hall, the study hall, to the Beit Midrash, and said, I want to argue and I will prove you why I am right. But the majority of the rabbis in the study hall, the majority of the sages didn't agree with him. So what did he do, Rabbi Eliezer? He said the following. He said to them, if the halacha is in accordance with me, let this carob tree prove it. He returned and said, if the halacha is in accordance with me, let the stream of water prove it. He started to nature, the tree, the water, to prove that he's right. He returned and said to them, if the halacha is in accordance with me, let the walls of the Beit Midrash prove it. And the Talmud tells us that when he said so, the walls of the Beit Midrash started to shake, because maybe he was actually right. Rabbi Yehoshua stood on his feet and said, it is not in heaven. No, you're not right. For you already wrote, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote, at Har Sinai the Torah. And in the Torah it says, after the majority one must incline. So the majority of the rabbis disagreed with Rabbi Eliezer about the halacha. And Rabbi Yehoshua said, it doesn't matter if you bring proof from the trees, or you're able to change the stream of the water, or you're able to make the wall of the study hall shake. It doesn't matter, because what makes halacha, what determines Jewish law is the majority. And they said on that day, they brought all the ritually pure items which Rabbi Eliezer had declared pure and burnt them in fire. Take a look what happened. That's such a tragedy in the Beit Midrash, because Rabbi Eliezer insisted. He insisted that he was right. He couldn't go on with the majority. He was sure he was right, and they voted against him and placed him under ban, nidui in Hebrew. What happened was that because of Rabbi Eliezer's stubbornness, because he was sure he was right, because he had this pride of a rabbi, saying, I know the halacha is according to my opinion, and not according to all the other opinions, not according to all the other rabbis. Because of that, they burnt all the items that he purified, and they placed them under a ban. And you know what goes on next, and that's very, 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 very interesting. The Talmud continues and says the following. They said, after they banned Rabbi Eliezer, they said, who will go? Who will go? And inform him, who will go to Rabbi Eliezer and tell him, sorry, Rabbi Eliezer, you're banned. You're not part of our study group anymore. The one and only Rabbi Akiva from our story, the same Rabbi Akiva whose prayer was answered, while Rabbi Eliezer's prayer was not. And Rabbi Akiva said to them, I will go. And what did Rabbi Akiva do, says the Talmud? He dressed in black and wrapped himself in black and said before him at a distance of 4 cubits. Rabbi Eliezer said to him, Akiva. He's not even calling him Rabbi Akiva, just by his first name. Akiva. What is different today from other days? Why do you look like that? Why do you wear those black garments? He said to him, my teacher. Take a look at the difference between how Rabbi Eliezer is calling Rabbi Akiva just by his first name to how Rabbi Akiva is calling Rabbi Eliezer. He's calling him my teacher. He respects him, but Rabbi Eliezer does not respect him back. My teacher, it seems to me that the companions have separated themselves from you. And we learn from here a very important difference between the characters of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Eliezer. While Rabbi Eliezer was stubborn, while Rabbi Eliezer thought that he was right, while Rabbi Eliezer has this pride of someone who believes he's always right and truth is within him, Rabbi Akiva comes as someone who has humility, someone who can actually lower himself, stand in front of Rabbi Eliezer, call him a teacher, and explain to him what exactly happened. And the difference between those two characters might be one of the reasons why Rabbi Akiva's answer was actually answered, while Rabbi Eliezer's prayer was actually not. Because we see from the story and from other sources how the humility, how strong the humility of Rabbi Akiva actually was. Take a look, for example, in this source. The Talmud in Yevamot says the following story, says this, the same thing. They said to Rabbi Akiva, "You are Akiva ben Yosef, whose name has spread from one end of the world to the other. You're the great rabbi. Look at you. Be happy that you have merited a great name, and yet you have not yet reached the level of a cattle herders." What are cattle herders? They were generally simple individuals who were not familiar even with ordinary matters, and certainly not with halacha. Rabbi Akiva was a rabbi that everyone looked at him and didn't stand up to him. They thought that he wasn't smart. They thought that he didn't know the halacha. They said, you're only a shepherd." And what did he answer? Rabbi Akiva said to him with characteristic modesty, "And I have not even reached the level of shepherds, who are considered even worse than cattle herders." So take a look. Rabbi Akiva has this character of someone who has humility, someone who is not arrogant, someone who doesn't have pride in what he achieved, in who he is. And even if other people tell him that he's not smart enough, that he doesn't know enough, that he doesn't have the knowledge to be the rabbi, nevertheless, Rabbi Akiva understands, and he's not angry, and he's not upset, and he has this sense of humility. And this sense of humility that he had, while Rabbi Eliezer didn't have, might be the reason, or one of the reasons, that he actually his prayer was answered, and Rabbi Eliezer's wasn't. And this is what the Talmud says at the continuing of the story. A heavenly voice went forth and said, "Why was Rabbi Akiva's prayer answered, while Rabbi Eliezer's prayer was not? It's not because this one, Rabbi Akiva, is greater than that one, Rabbi Eliezer. It's not because he's better than him. Rather, it's because this one overlooks his measures, is forgiving of insult, and does not stand on his honor, while that one does not overlook his measures." And this is a very important attribute of every cantor, of every shliach tzibur. A shliach tzibur needs to have humility. He can't be arrogant. He can't go everywhere and say, "Look what I achieved. Look what I've done. Look where I pray. Look what I do. Look at this job that I got. Look at this position that I got. And I daven in this shul and I daven in that shul." He needs to be a mensch. He needs to be a person with humility. He needs to be someone that looks at first glance like a regular person. And that also gets very, very along with what I told you in this introduction, is that when I first met Beny, he just came up to me and he was like, "Hi, I'm Beny." I was like, okay, just, another guy comes to church, feel like many other guys. And it actually took a couple of weeks until I understood who Beny really is. And I got to understand how many years he served his congregation and how giant he was in the cantorial world and how many accomplishments and achievements Beny had. And for me, having this humility that really, really, this is one of the things that Beny, one of the deep attributes that Beny had as a person, this humility, we learn from those sources how important it is for a cantor to have. And that's the reason Rabbi Akiva's prayer was answered, while Rabbi Eliezer's prayer was actually not answered. And we actually say, every chazan, every cantor knows this, and also Beny knows this very, very, very well, this prayer that the chazan, the cantor, says at the beginning of Musaf on Yom Kippur. In Hebrew, it's called Hineni He'ani Mimas. It's a prayer that some congregations, the cantor says it out loud, chants it. Some congregations, it says it only by himself, and depends on the congregation. But every cantor says this prayer before Musaf on Yom Kippur. And take a look at the words. What does the cantor says before he leads the congregation on Yom Kippur? He says, "Behold, I am poor in deeds, trembling and afraid from the awe of the one who dwells upon the praises of Israel. I have come to stand and supplicate before you on behalf of your people Israel, who have sent me, even though I am neither worthy or fitting for this." The most important prayer, the introductory prayer that the cantor himself says about himself before he leads his community on Yom Kippur, is a community that says you should be humble. You should have humility. You should know that maybe you're not the best. You should know that maybe you're not even worthy for the job of leading a congregation. And despite Beny being very much worthy, and despite him having all those accomplishments, he was able to preserve this humility, was able to preserve this tzniut, as we say in Hebrew, not to brag about this, not to say it to everyone. And this is what led Rabbi Akiva at the time to be an ideal cantor, and definitely something that also led Beny to be an ideal cantor. And this idea of humility, of being a mensch, being a man, being an Adam, something that really characterized Beny so much, we find in a song that Beny liked so much, by a singer he liked so much, Arik Einstein. And Arik Einstein has a very, very famous song. We'll listen only to 1 minute of this song called You and I, Ani Ve'ata. You and I, Ani Ve'ata was released in 1971, maybe one of the most famous songs by Arik Einstein. And in this song, very simple song, Arik Einstein says, you and I, we will change the world. Even if many people said it before us, we know that you and I will change the world. It's a song about being a person, being a mensch, understanding who you are, and understanding that despite us being Bnei Adam, being just human beings, we are able to change the world with humility. Let's just hear 1 minute of the song, and then we'll move on.
אז יבואו כבר כולם אמרו את זה קודם לפניי לא משנה אני ואתה נשנה את העולם
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם, you and I will change the world. Beny was able to change many, many people's world by his voice and just stay you and I, Ani ve'ata, and not feeling like he's over other people. And this humility, this tzniut, this attribute that is so important was something that definitely made Beny an ideal cantor. I want to show you a personal message that I received from Beny. This is from June 8th, 2022. It was right after one of the Monday classes that we had of Song of the Week, and we played an Arik Einstein song. And Beny always, really, every week after a class, it was important for him to text me, to tell me how meaningful the session, the class was, new things that he learned, how much he enjoyed it. Really, just an unbelievable person. And he texted me the following after a song of Arik Einstein. And he said, I'll translate while I read. Idan Yakar, dear Idan, הרגע הגעתי הביתה והקשבתי לשיר. I just came back home and I listened to the song. Now, by the way, Beny always said, at least for me, because I knew Beny the year after he retired. And he always told me that he's much, much, much busier in his retirement than he was when he was actually working. And every day he had something going on. And even if he wasn't able to make it on the Zoom, he listened to the recording right afterwards. So here he says, I listened to the recording of the song. It was about Arik Einstein. He says, Arik היה נערץ כל חיי. I really admired Arik all my days. השירה שלו, his singing, הדמות שלו, his character. ומצד שני, אהבתו לאורי זוהר, and his love to another singer and another actor, אורי זוהר, צמד מהשמיים, they're really a couple. אבל אני לא יכול להקשיב לשיעור, I cannot listen to it live, so please let me know also for next week. It was very important for him. אין עליך עידן יקר. Take a look, this is just, he just said, אין עליך. It's hard to even translate this into English. אין עליך עידן יקר. Just, and dear Idan, that was really, really, really amazing. That's very sweet. So, again, it was important for me also to play an Arik Einstein song, just because I know how much Beny loved Arik Einstein. So this is about humility. This is about tzniut. Another character that is very important when it comes to be a chazan, a cantor, a shliach tzibur, is pioneering spirit. Having a pioneering spirit. Now, you might think, what is the relationship? What is the connection between having a pioneering spirit and leading a congregation during services? What's the connection between the two? So take a look. Take a look. The Talmud in Ta'anit 16a says the following. Our rabbis taught, when they stand in prayer, even if there is an elder and a sage present, they do not send anyone down before the ark to lead the prayer, except the person who is accustomed to doing so. The Gemara says something that I think makes a lot of sense. How do you choose who's going to lead the service in davening? You need someone who is regular in doing this, who's accustomed to doing so, who has experience in doing this. But then take a look what Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Yehuda says, and he must also, this chazan, this cantor, must also have toil in the field. That's very odd. That's very odd. The chazan needs to be a farmer? What does it mean? What's the connection between leading the tzibur, the congregation in prayers, and toiling the field? What's the connection between the two? And Rashi explains the following. And he has to toil, meaning, says Rashi, since he works hard in the field, he will concentrate more deeply in the prayer for rain. I think Rashi teaches us something amazing about being a cantor. Being a cantor, you can only be a real good, ideal cantor if you understand the problems of the people you're praying on behalf of. You need to live among the people. You can't stay in your office all day long, just, practicing the next piece that you're going to sing in shul. You need to be someone who goes out, who meets the people, who understand what they're suffering of, who understands their problems, who can develop a relationship with them, who can develop a connection with them. And not for no reason, many people, and when I streamlined to Beny's Levaya, from Israel, I could hear how many people said, even though I was a member of the shul, he was my friend. And that's exactly Beny. Despite having a position, despite being a leader in his own community, he was able to connect to so many people, and so many people were able to call him their friend. And when Rashi says that the cantor, the chazan, needs to be able to concentrate more deeply on the prayer of rain, and therefore he needs to toil the land, that's what they're telling us. The chazan, the cantor, needs to be someone who's able to feel the people, to feel the land, to understand where they come from, their problems, and not just stay in their ivory tower or in their cooled offices and just come in and out from shul when needed to. And I think that when it comes to Rabbi Akiva, again, the same rabbi whose prayer was answered as a cantor, while Rabbi Eliezer's prayer wasn't, Rabbi Akiva is also a manifestation. He's also an example of someone who toiled the land, someone who worked with other people and understood the problems. That's what the Midrash tells us. The Midrash says Rabbi Akiva was a shepherd for 40 years, studied Torah for 40 years, and sustained led Israel for 40 years. Take a look at the character of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, before he became a rabbi, for 40 years, he was a shepherd. And only then he started studying Torah for 40 years. And after those 80 years, he started to lead the people of Israel. Because Rabbi Akiva came from the people. He didn't grow up in this ivory tower. He understood their problems. He first of all worked and toiled the land, and only then he accepted upon himself the position of leadership. And if you want to see another very, very, very interesting example about how Rabbi Akiva's character is being expressed in this matter, the Midrash in Tanchuma says the following. Take a look. It once happened. That's a story that the Midrash is giving. It once happened that a king named Tornosrophus the Wicked, the name of a king, he asked Rabbi Akiva, whose deeds are more beautiful? Those of the Holy One, blessed be he, or those of flesh and blood? Now, you're all probably going to say, of course, the creation of God is more beautiful than a creation of men. But take a look what Rabbi Akiva said. Rabbi Akiva said to him, the deeds of flesh and blood are more beautiful. What a surprise. Tonosrophus said to him, behold, the heavens and the earth, can a human being make the likes of them? We cannot make heaven and earth. So what are you talking about, Rabbi Akiva? But Rabbi Akiva said to him, do not bring me something that is above created beings and over which they have no power, but rather speak of things that are found among human beings. Rabbi Akiva said, what's important is that we see each other as human beings. And for that sake, God's creation is amazing, but it's not relevant for us. What's relevant is seeing what we're able to achieve, what we're able to do. And that's where Rabbi Akiva, even though being a rabbi, even though being a leader of the people, he was rooted in the public. He was rooted in his community. He was rooted among the people. And that's what made him an ideal leader, an ideal cantor. And when it comes to Beny, those two pictures that I brought here, I wanted to put them side by side because you could just, I mean, even the hands are almost at the same place. Just take a look at those pictures side by side. The left, and the family can correct me if I'm saying something wrong. I think the left is from 1962, if I'm not wrong. This is from Ma'ale Gilboa. Beny served in the IDF in Garin Nachal in Ma'ale Gilboa, and he was one of the founders of the kibbutz. Now, I have to tell you that personally, myself, back in 2015, I have a lot of hakarat tov, a lot of gratitude towards Beny, because I learned in the yeshiva in Ma'ale Gilboa, in the kibbutz, that Beny was one of its founders. And Beny used to tell me every time that I told him that you remember, I learned in Ma'ale Gilboa, he said, where the yeshiva is, where you learned, Idan, that's where I slept. That's where I slept with my buddies. That's exactly the place. And you can see Beny on the left, working, toiling the land, being part of the society, being part of the people, despite even then having an amazing voice, still being me'orav im habriot, still being rooted in the land of Israel, toiling the land, loving the land of Israel, loving the people. But it's not something that stopped then. The picture on the right is from Beny's last trip to Israel. This is April 2024, if I'm not wrong. And Beny went on a mission with Sarel to Israel to volunteer. And I'll show you. He sent me a picture, and I have on my WhatsApp. I have some pictures that he sent me and some videos from this trip that he had. And the picture on the right is him just packing food for I think it was maybe for soldiers, or packing food for families who were evacuated from their homes at the time. And you can just see that despite being a leader in his own community, and despite having this heavenly voice, and despite being so talented and so accomplished, Cantor Maissner was someone who toiled the land. He was rooted in the land. He was rooted among the people, and he never stayed in an ivory tower. It was always important for him to be part of society, to be part of everyone else, and to contribute, and to have this pioneering spirit. And I think you don't find so many cantors in the world that will feel as comfortable with working in the land or in the garden as standing in front of hundreds of people and singing and chanting from the siddur. And that's something that really I think was expressed in Beny's identity and Beny's character. And this idea of a pioneering spirit that the cantor should have is one of the reasons why Rabbi Akiva, who had this pioneering spirit, that's why Rabbi Akiva's prayer was answered, while Rabbi Eliezer, who stayed in his ivory tower in the study hall, never really was part of the other people, never was really part of society. Maybe that's another reason why Rabbi Eliezer's prayer wasn't answered, while Rabbi Akiva's prayer was actually answered. And I want to play a song. It's called Your Wonders Are Yet to Cease, Od Lo Tamu Kol Pla'aich, 1984. It's a song was written by Rami Kleinstein, performed by the Northern Command Military Band, Lehakat Pikud Tzafon. We'll listen to 1 minute from the song, but I think this song also expresses the love that we all have to the land of Israel, and specifically also the love that Beny had towards the land of Israel, and how he toiled the land of Israel and was part of this. And I think it means a lot. They're going to listen to the song. So we're going to play 1 minute of the song, and then we will continue.
ארצנו הקטנטונת, ארצנו היפה, מולדת בלי כותונת, מולדת יחיפה, קבליני אל שירייך, קלה יפהפייה, פתחי לי שערייך, אבוא במודיה, בצל עצי החורש, הרחק מאור חמה, יחדיו נכה פה שורש, אל לב האדמה, אל מעיינות הזוהר.
And the love that Beny had towards the land of Israel wasn't just love, it was a call for action. Back in the 60s, and also last year when he traveled to Israel. And this is what makes an ideal cantor, being someone who is part of the community, being part of the tzibur, part of the congregation, part of the people, and share the burden. And I remember that after October 7th, and after the tragedy that we had in our own family, my brother-in-law that was murdered in the Nova Festival, Beny came up to me when we came back to Toronto. I can't even explain the face that he had, sobbing in tears, and you can see that despite living for years in Toronto, he is in Israel. You'll never take it away from him, and he felt like the country that he loves so much is just changing and burning in front of his eyes, and he took this pain personally. Personally, he took this pain, and this just shows you that being a cantor, an ideal cantor, it's not just someone who knows how to sing and has a beautiful voice, all the things that Beny had, but it's being part of the people, sharing with them the burden, sharing in them the challenges that they have. And Rabbi Akiva had it, and his prayer was answered, and definitely Beny had it, and we know that Beny's prayers were also answered. The last attribute that I think makes a cantor an ideal cantor is having a loving heart. It's true that we all need to have a loving heart. Being a rabbi myself, being in a position in a community, I should have a loving heart. But when you're a cantor, when you lead people in singing, when you lead the neshamot, the soul of the people, in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, in front of God, you definitely should have a big, great, wide, loving heart. One of the most famous sayings, maybe in the entire Jewish world, is brought in Midrash Sifra Kedoshim. The Torah tells us, and you shall love your fellow as yourself. Ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha. And Rabbi Akiva says this is a great principle in the Torah. De klal gadol b'Torah. One of the most famous sayings in the entire Jewish world is Rabbi Akiva's. Rabbi Akiva, the one whose prayer was answered, is the one who taught us how important is the principle of loving your fellow as yourself. Another very, very important message by Rabbi Akiva is the one that is brought in Mishnah Avot, Masechet Avot. And it says the following: Rabbi Akiva would say, beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God, And even greater love was made known to him, to men, that he was created in the image, as it said, for the image of God he made man. Rabbi Akiva is the one who told us we need to love and respect not only Jews, every human being, because every human being was created in the image of God. Having a loving heart that is able to embrace all people from all different groups, from different dimensions, from different sections, from different faiths and religions. It's something that we learn from Rabbi Akiva, the rabbi, the cantor whose prayer was answered. And it's something that is incredibly important for a cantor to have. Incredibly important. Reb Nachman of Breslov, in his book Likutei Tefillot, collection of prayers, says the following, how important it is for the cantor to have this loving heart. They know, he says, the cantors know how to pray on behalf of all of Israel and to descend before the ark in order to fulfill the obligation for the many. To gather together all the good and all the good points from each and every one of those praying, and to pray with all of this goodness before you, God full of compassion, and to transform the attribute of judgment into the attribute of mercy. Reb Nachman of Breslov says the true cantor, the true leader in a service, is the one who knows that he has people behind him who rely on him. And his responsibility, his obligation, is to see only the good points, the good attributes that each of his congregants have, and use those in his kavana, in his tefillah, in his prayer. Having a loving heart, having a big heart that is able to be as inclusive as including everyone that is in the room right now, is an important attribute that Rabbi Akiva had. We learned those sentences from Rabbi Akiva. And that's another reason why Rabbi Akiva's prayer was answered. And it's for sure also true about Beny, because if you would ask anyone in this Zoom right now, tell me the number one thing, describe Beny in one word, it would be loving heart. Beny was a person who was one big heart. He loved everyone, and everyone loved him back. And I can tell you that I am part of a WhatsApp group of rabbis and cantors in Israel. And this WhatsApp group is consisted mostly of what we call ultra-Orthodox Jews, Haredi Jews. And the day that Beny passed away, everyone in this group, so many people in the group sent out a condolences message in the group saying, Cantor Maissner from Toronto passed away. They are Haredi rabbis and cantors. He for decades was a cantor of a Reform congregation. And nevertheless, Beny was able to build those bridges between the people with his loving heart. He grew up in Bnei Akiva, in Tel Aviv. He was always Bnei Akiva. He was always a kippah sruga. He officiated as a cantor in a Reform shul for decades. After his retirement, he came with his family to a modern Orthodox shul in Toronto. And somehow he was able to make all those pieces align together. Only a person with a big loving heart is able to do this. That's an important skill for every cantor. We learned this from Rabbi Akiva, the ideal cantor whose prayer was answered. And it's definitely something that Beny had. Definitely something that Beny had. And I want to play a minute from a song by Naomi Shemer. It's called Shirat HaAsavim, the Song of the Grass. It's a song she didn't write, she only composed. The lyrics were written by Reb Nachman of Breslov, which we just saw his source. And Rabbi Nachman of Breslov compares men, people, how different we are, to nature. And just like nature is different, people are different, We all have our own melody. We all have our own song. And somehow all those songs align together. Take a look.
דע לך שכל רואה ורואה יש לו ניגון מיוחד משלו. דע לך שכל עשר ועשר יש לו שירה מיוחדת משלו. ומשירת העשבים נעשה ניגון של רועה.
Beny was able to see that every person has his own melody, but he was able to compose his own melody based on all the different melodies and songs that he saw in so many people, in so many groups. And it's true for Rabbi Akiva, and it's something that made Rabbi Akiva who he was, and made Rabbi Akiva the ideal cantor. And it's definitely something that made Beny an ideal cantor. We spoke about humility. We spoke about pioneering spirit. We spoke about a loving heart. All the three attributes that were true for Rabbi Akiva are also definitely true to Beny Maissner. And if you want, you can say that Beny Maissner was our own Rabbi Akiva. He was our own ideal cantor. He had the humility of a cantor. He had the pioneering spirit of the cantor. And he had the loving heart of the cantor. And if you ask me what makes an ideal cantor, I would say, don't ask me. Go learn and ask the family about Beny. And you will see and learn and understand what and who is an ideal cantor. We opened this class with the story from Masechet Ta'anit about Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Akiva, who went up and davened, but only Rabbi Akiva's prayer was answered. And Rabbi Akiva's prayer that was answered was the following: Avinu Malkeinu, kabel berachamim uveratzon tfilateinu. Our Father, our King, accept our prayer with compassion and favor. Avinu Malkeinu tehei hashah hazot shat rachamim ve'et ratzon milfanecha. Our Father, our King, let this hour be an hour of compassion and a time of favor before you. And Rabbi Akiva, the ideal cantor, sang this. And Beny Maissner, our ideal cantor, also sang this.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, V'yalol aleinu, V'tahapenu. Avinu Malkeinu,
Idan, Rabbi Idan,
Yes, Hope.
I really don't have words to thank you. But I want you to also know that the poster that you showed of the Shliach Tzibur on Kol Nidre that poster hung in Benny's office at home
Really.
for decades until he had to take it down to make room for his grandchildren's artwork. So thank you. Thank you.
You Hope. Thank you. Thank you. The final thing that I can say is that we all live in times now where we see what's going on in Israel, and we need to continue this prayer, this ideal prayer, this an ideal prayer from an ideal cantor who's no longer with us in his body, but we can all feel, even on the Zoom, we can all feel his neshama coming from his prayers, and we should just pray to Kadosh Baruch Hu that Avinu Malkeinu tehei hasha'ah zot sha'at rachamim ve'et ratzon milfanecha, that this moment, those prayers of an ideal cantor like Beny, those prayers we know for all those decades, they don't go to vain. And those prayers will continue to be answered by God today for all the needs of Klal Yisrael, for the hostages to be brought back home, for soldiers, those who are wounded to be healed, and the better and good days will come. And they will come when those, not if, when those prayers from Beny are answered. I want to thank the Maissner family for this opportunity. Personally, for me, it means a lot. And I want to wish you all only nechama, besorot tovot, and smachot from your beautiful family. And you have a beautiful family. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this Zoom. May Benny's neshama have an aliyah.
Thank you.
Hi, Hope, and hi, everybody. So moving, and we will continue. We're going to honour our dear friend Beny at our next convention. Everybody wants to speak, and everyone wants to say everything about our lovely Beny. And if you feel that you're able to come, and the family, you're so welcome, because we are doing our best to honour Beny in the only way we can, telling about his stories, how we all loved him, and he was part of our European Cancers Association family, and we will remember him forever. God bless everybody. Still love him so much.
Thank you, Alex.
I would like to say just one word, if I may. Murray Simon, who knew Beny from his days in cantorial school. This is 60 years ago when we were both students there. And of course, we loved him so much and we miss him terribly. But I want to give one example of his humility, which is in his name, Beny. In English, he's entitled to two N's in his name. He only picked one. I think that's an example of his humility. I never understood why he didn't pick the second N, but he never did. And that was an example of his humility and his soul, and we love him and we miss him very much.
I would like to add that there is not a day that I'm not thinking about him. We were very good friends, and he was my father's student in Israel, in Bet Sefer Bilu. And we were very good friends, and I miss him, but of course I remember him every day. May his life be a blessing. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and wishing you all well. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, family.